Hi, welcome back to Jonesy Chats Wrestling. We're back this week. Thank you for clicking the video to discuss last night's Monday Night Raw, coming off one of the most impactful episodes of Raw in many, many years. Joined by my regular co-host, none other from the channel SCW, Steve. How are you this afternoon, Steve?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Thanks for having us back here on Jonesy Chats Wrestling. Always good to be involved talking Raw. Historic night. So yeah, let's dive in. I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. So today's topics and covers, what we're going to cover, we're going to do the Raw review as usual, in depth, in detail. And then after, towards the end of the video, we're going to go over some predicted WrestleMania matches. So we've got some kind of gossip about what may happen. Interesting Steve's thoughts to see whether they're going to happen or not. But yeah, let's get to it. So we're going to start with the Raw review as always. Obviously, Raw comes out from the Thunderdome. The show opens up. We're getting a really good vignette, kind of flashback to last week. Shows what kind of happened. It hypes up the whole occasion. We then obviously get kind of Drew McIntyre coming out. So they're starting the show up with XW champion Drew McIntyre. He comes out. He says that he's ready kind of to be here. They then announced it's going to be a match versus him and Sheamus. Drew said it's been a bitch of a month for him. He then said that how him and Sheamus have served their 20-year friendship, and he still doesn't understand why he turned on him. It then ends up kind of with Miz coming out. Miz comes out. The pyro Miz gets is probably larger than most of the other WWE pyros this year so far. He gets a huge pyro. It then kind of ends up with Miz trying to basically bait Drew into helping him. They then end up kind of squabbling. It then ends up kind of with them lot just sort of arguing. Bobby Lashley's music comes out with a Hurt Business, and it just kind of goes on and on. This went on for kind of 15 minutes. Fun opening. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the opening of Raw this week. I think that Drew had some impactful points, and I thought what was really interesting, he said he wasn't going to get involved in the main event, like perhaps many of us predicted going in. So immediately that prediction kind of went down the toilet, didn't it? But looking at it with the Miz and stuff, obviously he wanted to align himself with Drew to try and help beat Lashley, wanted to get out of that match with any cost. I thought, yeah, it was all pretty well done. And I must admit, this is a much better way of using the Miz than some of the, horrible Christmas tales that he was reading in December and stuff like that. We've had some bad Miz TVs and bad Miz segments of late, but the Miz in the last couple of weeks has been really fun to watch. So no, I really enjoyed this opening.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a really good, impactful opening. You're getting everybody out there that's interested at the moment. There was a lot of drama, which is good. And what was really interesting is we've got this Sheamus versus Drew match next. Was it just me, or were you shocked to see this match open the show this week?
I was shocked we had it in general. This really shows that plans have changed. Obviously, this was supposed to be a story based around how Sheamus was not being taken seriously to main event pay-per-views. And weirdly enough, the match with Drew is going to be the opening of Raw. So it's kind of right, really. He's not taken to that level. But to actually go into the match itself, I mean, it was hard-hitting, to give a shout out to our good friends, the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show. But, this was a really good match, a quality TV match. It really felt like a pay-per-view quality match that would have actually been a feud ender. I mean, it went through quite a few commercial breaks as well.
Yeah, I was, as I said, I was absolutely shocked by the match that we obviously had it. I think what a match to put on Raw, what an opening match. I think the thing is, as you said, it was hard hitting. It was very, very close. Really, really good. And I think for me, this could have been a WrestleMania match. It was that good there, 23 minutes, the time they got. It ended up crucially with Drew McIntyre getting the pinfall. I was surprised. I was surprised they gave the win to Drew here. I thought it would have been better probably to give it to Sheamus. There's more meat on the bone if Sheamus won, but Drew gets the win here, and he's obviously going to go forward into whatever they do next. What were your thoughts of the match?
Yeah, I thought the match was really good. I like the way that the story was told. I like the fact that, we had that beautiful table spot outside with like the belly to belly overhead, and Sheamus went into the table. I like the fact that there was use of both of each other's moves, which was quite unique to watch in the match. And the way that it finished off as well, where both of them had their signature move at the same time, who could hit first on the bro kick and the claymore. I thought it was really well put together. For me, I was quite happy Drew went over, as he said before the match, that he said that his focus was going to be who won the championship match. So it felt like for me, Drew would be the one that would come through from it. And I think this was a really good job overall. The only thing I would say is I wish it was on pay-per-view, but the fact we had it this week on Raw, it's a major match on Raw. I agree with you. It's WrestleMania worthy. What a great start to the show.
Yeah, I think interesting enough. So in the series currently between the two, Drew's now 2-1 up. Obviously, Drew won Elimination Chamber. He won on Raw this week. He lost the first time to Sheamus, so there's still room for that. I'd like to see him have another match. I don't know if we're going to get it at Fastlane, but yeah, they can definitely do more with this storyline. I really enjoyed it, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder what Sheamus goes from here. Like you said, does he come back for more revenge? I mean, you could see the way that Drew looked at the end of the match. He still didn't want to do it. He still felt upset the fact that they had that match. But, you know, as they've always said previously, they'll always go and have a brutal brawl. It's just how they've always been. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on from here.
Yeah, it will. We then had a singles match between Naomi with Lana versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. This was a really quick match. It was a squash. Nia Jax get the pinfall. Yeah, Nia Jax, as we said on previous episodes, she's on a bit of a run now. So interesting enough, she got the win here. It didn't really make me want to see this tag match is going to happen. What were your thoughts of this squash?
It was a squash, wasn't it? I mean, the thing is, what was quite interesting is we had the timer again, obviously, from MVP suggesting that the championship match was going to be at the turn of the end of the first hour. So we had the clock running down the whole way through that first hour of the show. And obviously, with 10 minutes to go, we knew this was filler. And to be fair, to say that it's going to be 10 minutes exactly, it's almost as if wrestling's predetermined, isn't it? As if they knew that the match was not going to go that long. But let's put the kayfabe aside. I mean, the match itself for me didn't really do a lot. It doesn't add much to that feud for me. But what I would say is it gives the champions, or Nia certainly, a bit of momentum going to NXT. But what I did come out of this feeling is that, in my opinion, I don't think this feud needs the Women's Tag Team Championships. They can continue this feud without those belts involved.
Yeah, I think that's a good analysis. I think the thing with it is this was just a placeholder. Obviously, you've got this big match on NXT this week where the Women's Tag Team Champions are going to face Raquel and her partner as well. So let's see. I think it was an okay match. I thought it kind of did what it needs to do, squash. But my only preference, I would have rather that Lana got pinned, because obviously Naomi, she's an ex-world champion, women's world champion, and she did such a good job at the Royal Rumble. I think that momentum's kind of stopped from this loss. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, usually this is Naomi's time of year, and well, I mean, she's losing momentum in February. Goodness knows what's going on for the rest of the year.
Definitely. We then had another sort of fun vignette for Rhea Ripley. She's coming, really, really getting hyped. Really, really looking forward to seeing her debut. Did you enjoy the vignette this week again?
Yeah, I mean, they're putting her over big time, aren't they? And she's coming to Raw. The question is when, I think, is the question. But no, this is good. They're giving us layer by layer each and every week, and you get more and more excited each and every time.
Definitely. We then obviously had the supposed match between Bobby Lashley and The Miz. This ends up kind of with Lashley coming out. Miz then does sort of fakes that he's injured, and then Lashley then sort of grabs Miz by the face. They say that he's going to defend the title. Pierce tells him that he's got to 10 p.m. to defend the title. For me, I enjoyed this. This was a fun swerve. You don't want to give out your sort of main event within the first hour of the show, so I enjoyed this. I thought it was comedic. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thoughts was that something shenanigan-wise would go wrong, or potentially I wondered if they were going to get the Fastlane match decided on the evening of what the championship match would be, if they'd had time to sort something out later. But yeah, the way that this was done, I thought this was good. It's typical Miz, isn't it? He's cowardly heel. He wants to find his way out. He's sick. He's hurt himself. Whatever it is, he's trying to get out of this match by any means possible. But Lashley, you could see, was having none of it. He'd even go to the back and attack Miz. If you're not going to defend it, I'm coming for you. I thought this was well done overall. And even Adam Pearce says, look, if I need to, I'll take you out there myself.
Yeah, no, it was good. We then obviously had Braun Strowman come out. Braun came out and cut a promo in the ring, talking about Shane McMahon and Adam Pearce, saying they've got something against him. Braun mentioned about him previously getting suspended, about being headbutt after his headbutt. It then ends up kind of with Shane McMahon turning up with Adam Pearce. Shane and Adam get in the room with Strowman. Shane says Strowman's inability to reach his own personal goals led Braun to being a little angry and upset. This then ends up kind of with them announcing that you think you're going to get a tag match of Shane and Braun facing the tag team champions, the Hurt Business, but in the end it ends up that Adam Pearce gets drafted in to face with Braun against the Hurt Business. Did you enjoy this segment?
It wouldn't be WrestleMania season if Braun wasn't given a random tag team partner to go after the World Tag Team Championships, would it? But no, on a serious note, for me, I hit and miss with this, to be brutally honest, if I'm going to tell the truth. I kind of felt that... I mean, I understand with the idea that Braun's got a problem with authority, but there's not meant to be authority figures in WWE. But yet we are now got the official with Adam Pearce, who is technically the GM without the title. Shane's just wandered in and started throwing his weight around since coming back the last few weeks. I mean, clearly we're building towards something here long term in the future. But at the same time, for me, I don't know. I'm not fully connected with this storyline at this time.
Yeah, we then had this Raw Tag Team Championship. So the Hurt Business facing Braun and Adam Pearce for Shane McMahon. This match was a bit of a disaster, in all honesty. Strowman dominated most of the match. It made the WWE Raw Tag Team Champions look like total amateurs. It didn't make it sort of really undersell that they were champions. In the end, the Hurt Business managed to pick the win when Adam Pearce gets flipped over and he gets the pinned. For me, this didn't really work. I know they're going to be leading to probably Braun versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania, but I'm really sort of not a fan of your tag team championship being made to look just amateur, really. What were your thoughts?
It's unfortunately typical WWE. This happens a lot with your tag team champions. If you can expend a tag team to build another feud, usually it's something we've seen a lot over the years. But what I would turn around and say is that, yeah, it's building to Braun and Shane. I think after this week, it's fairly clear that's the direction. We've teased it for at least a couple of weeks on these Raw reviews that's where the direction would be going. Like you said, no one came out here looking with a blaze of glory, and that doesn't help really in the segment at this particular time. And what also is a bit of a slight niggle on it as well, Shane McMahon has been a babyface along with Adam Pearce like a couple of minutes earlier in the backstage segment, but yet now there's like almost like a heel action in this match. It kind of goes a bit backwards and forwards. So yeah, not really feeling this at the moment.
It's a Sasha Banks syndrome. I think it's exactly the same thing they're doing with Sasha Banks on SmackDown is what they're doing with Shane McMahon. With it, I think the thing with it is it makes me question though: is there a real lack of depth on the Raw tag team division? The fact they've only got sort of the Hurt Business and a few other tag teams, it's a shame really. I really think they need to, going into WrestleMania, build up some decent competition. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. There's one positive I'll get from this. At least it wasn't a Hurt Business against Lucha House Party that we've had for the last 10 weeks or so.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you're on the money there. We then obviously have a fun kind of backstage segment. We've got Elias and Jackson Riker. They're talking to Damian Priest of Bad Bunny about the 24/7 title. It just ends up with them kind of squabbling to make a match. Did you enjoy this backstage segment?
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, it was just to build up for what was later in the evening. I think an Elias Bad Bunny collaboration would be interesting. But no, of course, that's definitely not to be. But no, certainly it gave a bit of interest for the match later on. It did what it needed to do.
We then had this Damian Priest versus Elias match. Forgive me, Steve. This went on for absolutely forever and ever. They had 15 minutes. And by the end of it, I was just like, this is ridiculous. You're wasting so much time on these two wrestlers. The only positive I can give to it was the fact that Damian Priest went over. That was the right move. But there's a load of holes with this. Like a prime example, there was part of the match where Bad Bunny kind of had an opportunity to get a cheap shot in on sort of Jackson. And all he did, instead of even using this kind of chair or the bell like he did last time, he didn't do anything. I just felt that this was just to waste time, this match. He didn't really do anything for me. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there is kind of that. I mean, what you could argue as well is that why is Damian Priest taking 15 minutes to beat someone who is in the lower mid card of the roster, like someone that usually at the moment just about gets on main events. So in one way, that's not a good thing, but at the same time, it is great to see that Damian Priest can showcase himself and have a good 15-minute match. And I must admit, I mean, Damian Priest is becoming one of my favorite superstars on Raw. I do feel a star power with this NXT call-up to where with some of them you can see where it's going to. At the moment, I'm quite a fan of what I'm seeing with Damian Priest, and I do hope that it's going to continue in a positive direction for him.
I think it's great that he got the win. I think that's important. But as you said, you made some great points. The fact that it took him 15 minutes to beat Elias, it's just a shame, really. I would have thought he would have steamrolled over that. But at least he's unbeaten. That is a positive here. At least he's been booked right and he's getting wins, which is fine. I just hope we don't get a rematch again at 15 minutes. I think the thing with it, Steve, is when we got people such as Ricochet not even on the card and various other people, AJ Styles, who weren't even on this week's show. This is where I have a problem filling 15 minutes with this match. I think you could have done this match for 5 minutes and had another match for 10 minutes that could have been far better with some other wrestlers.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, like you say, this is a way that Damian Priest, yeah, he got the win, but perhaps maybe it's the time where he should be dominating. You could have even had a point where, Jackson Riker's sending to do the dirty work to make a second match, or like you said, there's other superstars that weren't used this week. So, yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways that it could have gone down, but for what it is, I hope this is one and done, but don't be surprised with WWE. We might have this for a month yet.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Moving forward, I'm really interested in that segment and getting your views, Steve. So I'm really looking forward to discussing this next segment. So we've got Randy Orton there. He's there with Kayla Braxton. Orton says he doesn't know what happened last week. He then ends up saying that he won't have any fear to burn Alexa. It then ends up with Alexa appearing on TV. She looks possessed. Next thing you know, there's like sort of like a hooded figure it's another Randy Orton that's speaking to Randy Orton, and then he's been sick again. Before I give you my thoughts, what was your thoughts of this?
I loved Randy's confusion looking at himself in the camera when clearly he's recorded something 3 hours earlier. But at the same time, I mean, on paper, this isn't the worst idea in the world, but unfortunately in execution, I wasn't feeling it. And I don't know, the more this storyline goes on, cinematic, more supernatural storytelling, I've learned really isn't for me, particularly when WWE does it. So for me at this particular time, I'm really struggling with this storyline, but we're not too far away from getting the Fiend back. I think Fastlane is his destination on coming back. And the sooner that can happen, perhaps the better, because we might be able to get back onto some sort of track. But at this moment, I'm not feeling this entirely, but I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts. As you say, you've got a lot to say on this.
Yeah, so let's go over it. So for me, it's just gone too far. It's terrible. I think the thing with it is, it reminded me of watching WCW where we had Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior's there in the mirror, and Hulk Hogan's like pretending he can't see him, and he's there. It's just too far. As much as I'm a massive fan of this storyline, I get the payoff is going to be at WrestleMania, but I think they've gone too far for me. I think it's a shame because I enjoyed it. But Randy Orton, all the good work they did last year, I think when he's stuck in these WCW 2000 type storylines, I think it's just doing him detrimental harm, really. He's stuck in this feud; it's kind of going nowhere. And this, let's be fair though, the build for the Fiend coming back it's been not too bad. It's probably got as much hype as Kane debuting. It's got Kane and Undertaker at WrestleMania. It's that kind of feel to me. But this is just a feud that should have been done months ago. I can't believe they had that match in December. We're now in March, and yet they're still not had this payoff match to settle it. Really, I'm just surprised it's gone on so long. We had what I'm also going to say as well, Steve, is I did hear a rumor this week, and I'm going to sort of go over that rumor as well. Just this is crazy. I heard a rumor on another source that said that the original plan for Fastlane was going to be basically Fiend versus Randy Orton. Randy Orton's life was meant to be in jeopardy, and the person that's going to save his life was going to be Edge. Imagine if they'd have done that. They're actually going to pretend to kill Randy Orton. It would have been so much more stupid. But you can believe it, and based on the current stuff they're doing, can't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've read that story, potential idea as well. And I really hope they don't go down that avenue because, I mean, it's crazy enough that they went with setting the Fiend on fire to begin with. But one thing I'll give credit to for WWE is that they've kept the Fiend off the TV for a considerable period of time because, I mean, it would have been so WWE to bring him back within 2 weeks, like the first Raw of the year or something. It would have made so much. That's typical WWE. So I will give them credit that they've kept him off TV for a long time, but it is getting to the point now where they haven't got anything to fill the time with. And I still have belief that Randy might throw out a challenge to Alexa Bliss for the pay-per-view because he seems to be throwing his direction at her at the moment. But yeah, for me, this overall is not working. And at this point, they might as well go into the Dungeon of Doom. It's getting, like you said, WCW territory. And yeah, it's not working for me, this one, unfortunately.
Mate, you nailed it then. I can't take that. I was going to say that next, but you beat me to it, man, to be fair. I think the Dungeon of Doom, you hit it perfect. All we need is the master now, and then it'll be complete. But yeah, no, let's move forward. I think it's certainly something different. It gives us something to talk about, which is good. But as I said, we're going to get a payoff soon. The thing coming back, it may be a new chapter, but hopefully Randy can get this feud done and move on. Because for me, it's one that we've seen for so long now. It's been going on and on, which it's just a shame. It's delaying kind of Alexa and other people as well, which is a shame, I think. But it's not really good. It's sort of taken away from what they can do elsewhere. We then had another match. We had a match between the Miz... Oh, sorry, Steve, after you.
No, I was just going to say, no, it really is doing harm to everybody involved. I think you hit the nail on the head there. So no, apologies for jumping in.
No, you don't have to apologize. Okay, so moving forward, we then have match 2 of The Miz versus Bobby Lashley. This time, The Miz runs away and Bobby Lashley wins by a count out. So I'm thinking, I was quite annoyed when I saw this. I thought, oh no, they're going to screw us over. We're not going to get like sort of the title match. But it was a clever move to get people's interest. You're further delaying this main event. What were your thoughts?
I found it quite entertaining, all for the wrong reasons. I'm a big fan of Friends, and I remember there was an episode like back in the day where Joey Tribbiani took over a dance class, and he couldn't do dancing as well at all, but they left him in control to teach people to do the dancing. And when this teacher came back and saw it, they saw that they'd learned some awful moves when they would learned the real moves. And Joey's reaction to it was, when he had to show everyone what to do, was just to run as quick as he could out of the door. And this was kind of the way The Miz was. It just was done in very comedic fashion, where he just was like, championship, entrance, boom, and he was straight off. And yeah, like you said, we were being robbed of the title match, but with the fact that Miz was doing everything he could to delay this match from taking place, and the fact that he would say, well, look, now I've done the match, I've got away with this, it kind of was another layer to this story. And for me, I just found it quite comedic. I enjoyed the way that it was put together, and I wasn't convinced that this was the last we were going to see him of the night, and thankfully it wasn't. Had that been the way that had been the write-off for the evening, I think a lot of people would have been really annoyed.
Yeah, they would have. We then obviously had Bobby Lashley backstage with MVP. Lashley goes to Shane. Shane's the GM again. Shane then books another match for later on in the night, which he's banning babyface again. Did you enjoy this sort of turn to a babyface again?
It's back and forth. It's flip-flopping, isn't it? But my biggest fear of everything, not to go down the comedy route here, but he said he potentially would think of a stipulation for Legend Evening. I was worried we were going back to Raw Underground.
God, that's brutal. Yeah, okay, so moving forward, we then obviously had Charlotte Flair. She was obviously making her entrance and basically ended up with her talking about sort of what she wants to do. She mentioned that Oscar's out legitimately injured, obviously with a tooth. Then ends up with Shayna Baszler coming out. Obviously it ends up with them just kind of attacking her. So Charlotte gets beaten down by the Women's Tag Team Champions. This then leads to a match between Shayna Baszler and Charlotte. What were your thoughts for this segment and match?
With the segment, I thought it was all right. I mean, Charlotte's a heck of a best friend. I'll wait till Oscar's back before I take your title. What a great best friend that is. Yeah. But honestly, looking at it, I quite like the direction of where it was going with Charlotte. I mean, we're getting serious now. We're getting to WrestleMania. Why wouldn't Charlotte want to be in the championship picture? It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I'm happy from that point of view. Seeing the video package from last week where Oscar got kicked in the mouth from Shayna, did you see the highlighted bit, the way the tooth went flying out of her mouth in the air? God, I cringed at looking at that. That was wincing and awful to look at. But I wish Oscar a very speedy recovery and hope she's back in the ring very, very soon. I mean, we do hear that she was okay after that incident, but cool, that did look painful. The match itself, I kind of wish it was a different opponent to Shayna Baszler to Charlotte, because Charlotte needed the win, needs the momentum to go into that championship picture. Shayna Baszler is a worthy opponent. It's just it takes away the momentum that the champions have going into Wednesday. But at the same time, Baszler is the right opponent because, well, she was the one that put Oscar out of action. So what do you feel with this?
I thought it was okay. I thought it did what it needed to do. It didn't blow me away, but it was the right kind of move. They want to keep Charlotte Flair strong. Clearly, they've got bigger plans for her. I'd put it out there. I think she's going to be your next women's champion. I think it's probably sort of set that she'll win the belt soon. And I just think the thing with it is they're doing a real job of trying to build her up. I know she's obviously had this feud with Lacey that didn't happen. And this match for me, just it was okay, but I wouldn't have booked it in the first place. I think it's one of the things where a DQ finish may have been more sensible rather than get somebody a clean win. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, the thing is, the DQ does protect, Charlotte gets the win, but also, I mean, it protects your tag team champions. But at the same time, I think we need to really start focusing on that number one contender spot. So at the same time, maybe Charlotte did need the clean victory here, needed the momentum. So it has good and bad sides looking at it. But as a segment overall, what I really liked about it is the focus has gone back to the Raw Women's Championship. Regardless of who's the champion or challenger in this scenario, the focus is we're going back for our top title and we're going to make it mean something. And for me, that gave me the most positive feeling coming out of this segment.
Definitely. We then had this six-man tag. It was the United States champion Riddle, the Lucha House Party facing Retribution. And this was okay. It wasn't too bad. It was fairly entertaining. We get the Riddle and Gran Metalik and Lindsay Dorado basically getting the win there. Dorado's picking up the kind of pinfall on Slapjack. What were your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, I really like it. Josh Hayes must be smiling wherever he is, seeing that Gran Metalik was on Raw and picking up the victory. That must have been a great sight to see. Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is a throwaway six-man tag team match. It builds towards the Retribution storyline that's going on at the moment, which is, it looks like it's going towards some form of breakup down the line. Ali definitely has got frustration with them. But of course, that did lead to Ali going into them once again and saying, look, I'm going to show you how it's done. And he threw the challenge out to Riddle. And it was another entertaining match that was thrown on next.
Yeah, almost like a dream match where Riddle facing Mustafa Ali. For me, this was a superb match. It was really, really good. It shows what both these two wrestlers can do. Ali picked up the windfall, and the finisher for Ali was absolutely superb. It looked absolutely devastating, but Ali gets your win here. It's a much needed win for Ali. And I'm really hoping this leads to United States title between Riddle and Ali, because for me, I want to see this match again. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's set for Fastlane. I mean, I did wonder because again, it's kind of a fresh set of matches. We didn't have Retribution with the New Day for the first time in like 2 months, which was really refreshing to see. I mean, despite we could say there's holes in some of the booking on Raw, this was a much fresher show to watch, which was quite nice to see. And I did wonder when I saw Riddle was involved in this match, I was like, I wonder if Ali would go into the United States Championship picture somewhere further down the line. Not only on that did we get that match on the night, like you say, Ali picked up the victory. So there's got to be a match here for the United States Championship at Fastlane. And I think these two, it will throw in a great match if they're given 10, 15 minutes. I really, really do.
Would you be a fan of Retribution costing Ali the title to get them out of this storyline? I think that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to see it Fastlane. I'd like to see them interfere and turn on Ali just so that Ali's at free. Then they can then go on and push Ali as a singles wrestler. For me, it's great that he's getting this push. It's great he got this win here, but they've got to be consistent. He's got to keep winning now. That's the problem with Retribution. 1 week they're winning, next minute they're losing. It's very hard to buy into this push of anybody in that stable. What's your thoughts?
I think it's spot on the money because obviously Ali's saying, I'll show you how it's done. But actually, he picked up the win because everyone interfered. I mean, Reckoning was on the ring apron or even in the ring to distract the referee. Slapjack was moving around outside. Mace involved as well. And that led to Mustafa Ali picking up the win. So the fact that he's now saying, I can make you better if you follow my lead, follow my direction. He gets to that championship match at the pay-per-view and then all of a sudden they will turn on him. I think would be great because then Retribution could be his storyline rather than actually leading, arguably what's meant to be now a band of misfits. Let's be fair with the way they're dressed and names and stuff. I mean, it would be much better for Ali to continue that storyline himself. I think he carries himself such a great heel. He's got great character development with this storyline as well. He could carry it on his own. We could get these people back to their usual gimmicks. Mia Yim, Dominic Dijakovic could really benefit both of the divisions. They could go in a Raw. Dijakovic in the US title picture would be amazing. Mia Yim could go into perhaps not the championship picture, but she could definitely have a place on Raw. What you do with the other two, I'm not so sure. Maybe they go back to NXT, but definitely I think something needs to happen. I think you make a good little suggestion there, the idea of a breakup.
Definitely. We then had this main event. So Shane McMahon comes out. He says it's going to be a lumberjack match. We get loads of wrestlers come out around the ring. Even baby faces and heels are together. This is The Miz versus Bobby Lashley for WWE Championship. This was a really, really quick match. We got the right result. We've got a new world champion in Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley, after waiting 5,634 days, is your new world champion. And for me, I'm so happy. I'm delighted. This is the best win of the year so far. This is a guy that's deserved it. The way they built him up since he lost to Drew at Backlash, this is a phenomenal build. And this guy looks legit to hold the belt on for a while. But when he got the pinfall, I was so happy. It was amazing. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's almost as if WWE have planned this for a long time, isn't it? And they're not used to doing long-term booking. But I tell you what, kudos, credit where it's due. They have done a great job in building Lashley over the last 9 months. It's culminated in what feels like a 15 or so year journey, perhaps even longer. I think they said 17 years on Raw. For me, I remember him being on SmackDown 2005. Champions since 2007. The fact since he's come back, we've seen him pointing at his bum with Leo Rush. We've seen his sisters, but now, thank you, MVP. We've seen some relevance made with this Hurt Business stable. We have got the most creditable 4-man duo on the entire roster. Yes, take out what happened on this evening with the Hurt Business, with the tag team part out of it. They're the tag team champions. They've been doing great work on Raw each and every week, but Lashley has been built like a monster. There's a fire in his eyes. There's something special about this guy. And like you say, what a magical moment. This felt, I wish it was on pay-per-view, but if you go back to other Raw moments, this almost felt like when Mankind won the WWE Championship for the first time. It felt special. You felt like a star was made, someone was built, and it feels now Lashley holding that championship up in a squash match environment. Even the heels didn't want to help The Miz in a lumberjack environment. They hated him that much and didn't want to see him in that position. And Lashley, he held that belt up. He pointed to the WrestleMania sign. It feels now, it's for sure Lashley will be the champion walking into Mania. The question is now, is he facing Drew? Brock Lesnar was trending after Raw on Twitter. That's what people want. Have we got a triple threat match on the way down the line? Is it a straight one-on-one match? Who knows what the direction is going to be? But one thing is for sure, Lashley's walking in as your champion. And I think right now, a lot of people, regardless of the opponent, want to see him remain as champion.
I agree. I think you make some excellent points. Let's look at where this guy has come from. Obviously, he was booked in that terrible angle with Lana and Rusev previously. To go from that And just to be the way he is, the way he's been built up, the way he's been unbeaten, and the devastation. This guy is a superstar. Really excited to see what he does. I think even despite the poor bicking of WWE having Riddle cheering him, even though Riddle got destroyed by him week on week, I ignored that because it was that eventful Lashley winning the belt as well. I think it's magical, definitely. If we're going to give this kind of a final thoughts and score for Raw this week, I'll let you go firstly. What are your final thoughts and score?
Final thoughts. If you look at the story progression throughout the night, something I do like with Raw, certainly in the history you look over WWE, is when a story starts from the start of the night and works its way through to the finish. This did this. You were engaged. If you were at the show at the beginning, you should have been there at the end, because if you missed out the end, you missed out the payoff. You missed out what was all of a night's good work put together. This, for me, on the main event scene, was fantastic. But the rest of it, questionable at best, is what I would say. But overall, I enjoyed this Raw. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't want to be a parrot. I'm going to go 7 out of 10. I think it was really impactful. It did everything it needed to do. We've got a new world champion now, a credible champion, much more credible than The Miz. We had a fantastic match between Ali and Riddle. They're pushing Ali, which is great. It's something new. And I think we had a fantastic match from Sheamus and Drew. We got a lot in the 3 hours that was the show ran. I really enjoyed it. I think for me, probably one of the best Raws of the year so far. I think it just really connected on a lot of levels. I think despite the Randy Orton sort of Papa Shango stuff that's going on, I can ignore that because there's that much other good stuff that's going on. Have you got anything else you want to add before we get to this predicted WrestleMania card?
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly just address the Miz fans because there are some out there and they're probably disappointed. And let's be fair, the Miz is a great talker. He can be a great worker. Unfortunately, this was just the right place at the wrong time. And the Miz, unfortunately, it's not the right, with the way he's been booked over the last 12 months or so, it wouldn't have been right for him to go into WrestleMania. Had he won this championship in June or somewhere like that, you could have said he could have had a couple of month run to SummerSlam. But it wasn't to be. It wasn't the right time. So Miz can dust himself off. Hopefully he takes the momentum he's had in the last week and a half and he can use it to be in the upper mid card and work himself back into the main event. But I do think he's probably going back to Bad Bunny. So we'll have to wait and see how that's going to play out. But no, overall, I completely agree with you. I think this was a good show. Hit a lot of good boxes. And that Drew Sheamus match is one of my favorite matches of the year so far.
Definitely. So let's get to this WrestleMania card. So this is the latest rumored card for WrestleMania. Going to go through a few of the matches. We know a few official now, Steve. So let's just get to it and get your thoughts. So let's start sort of with an opening match. There's a rumor going around that we're going to see Nakamura facing Cesaro, facing Big E in a triple threat for the Intercontinental title. Would you be a fan of that? It sounds good to me on paper, definitely.
Yeah, I would be a fan of seeing it. I think it would be a good match on paper. First, it's building towards it. I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it was even at Fastlane they booked it and had more people involved in some form of ladder match at WrestleMania. But no, this would be good. Would you like to see it?
Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic. All three wrestlers are sort of doing really well. I think it could go either way, so I'd love to see it. We've also got a rumored match of Bad Bunny, Damian Priest, and Miz and Morrison. I think for me, that's nailed on. I don't think it's a rumor. I think that's are you excited for that match if it happens?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it feels nailed on since the Royal Rumble. I think a lot of people have predicted this one. So I'd say this is a safe bet. The bigger guess is which night's it going to be on. But yeah, I'm down for it. I think obviously it's mainstream popularity. Bad Bunny's done a lot of good things for WWE. There's a lot of people positive about him. It brings more eyes to the prize. So yeah, you can make a new star out of Damian Priest. This ticks all the boxes for me.
I agree. As long as we get Damian Priest getting the pinfall, I think for me that'd be a great way for him to be on his first WrestleMania and get a pinfall. If he pins Morrison or Miz, I think it will do him good. Miz is an ex-world champion. Pinning the Miz will be really, really good about now. I think it'll be clever. We then also got another match. This is pretty obvious from this week's Raw. Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. This is obviously going to be a stunt match of some sort, a gimmick match. I don't really see sort of it being very even. I'm not excited by this at all. What are your thoughts?
No, we have called it for about at least 2 weeks on these podcast reviews now. So yeah, it's good to see that it's definitely coming to light now. But yeah, at the moment, I'm not really feeling it. But I mean, Braun Strowman needs an opponent at WrestleMania. Shane McMahon can put him over. I'm hoping that this does lead, because Braun did say this week, I'm going to tear this place apart. I hope this is the start of the build that we get our monster back, because if we get the monster back in 2017, that's a Braun I want to see. So maybe what the end game could be, what we want out of it, rather than what we've got on the build-up.
Definitely. We've got the women's title, rumored women's title match. It's going to be Charlotte defending the belt if she wins it at Fastlane against the Rhea Ripley. Apparently, that's got a real good chance of happening this year, I heard this week. I'm hoping that happens. It'll be fantastic. It'll be even better than last year, I'm sure. What are your thoughts?
I mean, if this was to happen, then Rhea needs her win back because that was the big mistake last year. That would be the way to fix it. I wouldn't be surprised if this happens. I've spoken about this multiple times on my channel, but also I feel at this point, God, Oscar, you'd have to feel sorry for her to be out of another WrestleMania. So I hope it's the triple threat. I really do. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this match go down. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was Oscar Charlotte either.
Yep, we've also got another one. This one's a long shot. I don't know if I buy this one. This is one that I've heard as well. AJ Styles facing Christian. Would you be a fan of that? To me, it sounds like a dream match. I think it'll be absolutely fabulous if they do it.
Yeah, it's a TNA throwback, isn't it? They were both in the same stable back, I believe, in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I mean, what a safe worker to work with Christian if that match is going to go down. I'd like to see it. Christian deserves one more match at WrestleMania. What a great match you could have against AJ Styles. I don't know who AJ else would face.
Goldberg is another name as well that I've heard as well, maybe, which for me, it'd be a waste of AJ if he's with Goldberg. It would be.
Yeah,
really
I don't really want to see that.
Definitely. We've also got sort of another few matches. We've also got rumored last match with Daniel Bryan as well. Daniel Bryan facing Seth Rollins. Potentially this could be Daniel Bryan's last WrestleMania match as well. That's what I've heard this week, and how true that is.
Wait and see if it goes down. Definitely going to a part-timer, that's for sure. His contract of full-time is coming up. It'd be interesting to see what goes on with Daniel Bryan after this, but that's a match definitely I could see from the Royal Rumble was building up. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. I imagine Cesaro then and Rollins will face up at Fastlane if that's the case.
Yep, I think it'll be fun if it happens. It'll be a dream match. I think from a technical perspective, it'll be great. Really look forward to seeing it if it happens. We've also got the obvious one as of this week as well. Been building for months. The Fiend versus Randy Orton. That'll be in a cinema type match. Are you excited to see that, or do you want it done at Fastlane?
Well, I don't think it'll be done by Fastlane. I think it's going all the way to Mania here. My problem is the cinematic environment when you're in Raymond James Stadium. Fans, if they are going to be there, God, give them in front of everybody. Do you know what I mean? These wrestlers have not been able to perform in front of fans for so long. Give them that moment, then do your cinematic rubbish afterwards at Money in the Bank.
And we've also got the last two matches, Lashley facing Drew McIntyre. For me, that looks nailed on. I think they want to give Drew the belt back in front of fans. And I really hope that they do the opposite. I hope Lashley wins. What's your thoughts?
I want Lashley to win. I can see, though, Drew doing that. The reason that I would have thought about, I did a video on this today, and I'll give the spoiler on here, is that I think the intelligence of bringing Lesnar in, if it can be done for a triple threat, is that Lesnar can take the pin, and that then afterwards we can get Lashley, who can win the belt back from Drew at the next pay-per-view. Then Lashley can be dominant going forward. But I can see Drew picking up the win at Mania. It would be a shame because, you know, Lashley, he's waited so long. I think he deserves a proper run with that belt.
I'd love to see Lesnar come in, but for me, I think it's too short time. I think if he was going to come back, they should be building this for months. I think for me, it's as much I'd love to see Lesnar facing Lashley and Drew. It's a dream match. I'd love to see it. Definitely scream WrestleMania, but I'd love to see him build it more. Do you think it realistic can happen, or is it going to be a miracle for it to take place?
Well, the idea for me of where it can be realistic to happen is you don't need so much of a build from it. Yeah, it's nice to have that big build, that long build. But, I mean, Lesnar's not one to do many dates for WWE. So, I mean, we'd have, 3 weeks to go by Fastlane if Drew McIntyre gets the championship match at Fastlane rather than WrestleMania. A no contest, Lesnar turns up. It's possible it can happen. There's time to do it. Just, it's if WWE wants to do it. It's if Lesnar wants to do it. It's if the performers themselves. I mean, they've been the two best built superstars along with Roman Reigns. To put them in that one-on-one environment, it does scream WrestleMania right now.
Perfect. And the last two bits we've got the host of WrestleMania this year as well, supposedly, Cardi B. Are you excited if they bring that to fruition?
Well, I mean, it's a celebrity. So, yeah, why not? I mean, she's, from what I'm aware, she's quite controversial. So, yeah, it would be interesting to see. I think a lot of casuals would be intrigued to see what she would get up to. There was a bit of beef with Lacey Evans on Twitter. I'm guessing that wouldn't work out now. But, yeah, I mean, you could get a WrestleMania moment out of that. So, yeah, why not? WWE should bring celebrities in where they can. Yeah,
and 100% the last match, Roman Reigns facing Edge. For me, this is a dream match. Really looking forward to seeing this. And for once, you're going to get a bad guy go over. I think Roman Reigns is walking out of WrestleMania with the belt, 100%. I put my money on it now already, I think.
I'd like to see the odds, actually. It'll be quite
interesting. They're exactly the same for both wrestlers, which is shocking at this point.
I wouldn't be surprised if Edge won it at this particular moment. I'd like to see how the story's going to play out because you've got the comeback story. It's 10 years. I have heard rumors that Edge wants to bring back the World Heavyweight Championship over the Universal title as well. Don't know if it will happen, but what I would say is that it's definitely the right pick. It's the right choice. It's going to be a fun storyline to watch play out. At this moment, for me, I'm most excited about this match of WrestleMania. I know that and Sasha Bianca are the only matches actually officially announced for WrestleMania, but even with that whole card put there, Roman and Edge, for me, storyline-wise, it can tick so many of the boxes.
Definitely, as I said, Bianca Sasha, that's the last match as well. I forgot. I can't believe I forgot it. That's going to be another classic as well. We don't really know which way that's going to go. But would you be a fan of this WrestleMania card over 2 days, the one we've said tonight, or do you think it's going to be changed a lot more than this potentially?
I mean, the thing is, there is potential that would be the card. So I imagine there could be some more matches added to it, because there are some certain stars that have got momentum that currently aren't listed in matches there. And of course, the Battle Royales, I imagine, probably be brought in this year. Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with the card. Overall, I'd be quite excited with a lot of the matches. I do think, though, like you say, Goldberg will fit in somewhere, so it'll be interesting to see where it will happen. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Tag team championships aren't decided at the moment either, but there's a lot of star power for WrestleMania. And like you say, with the use of celebrities as well, potentially on paper, it does read pretty good. There's 1 or 2 matches I'm not so excited for, but overall, I think this could be a good WrestleMania. I think the fact that if there is any fans there at all, which is expected there will be, I think that the atmosphere is going to be electric. And I think that alone can carry this to be one of the better WrestleManias in recent memory.
Definitely. If I was booking this and the logistics were there, I'd love to have seen Goldberg face John Cena at WrestleMania this year. I think that would have been an iconic match for the ages. I think the old school versus new school, not new school, John Cena's not new school, but the old school versus kind of the 2000s wrestler, I think it would be classical. But no, definitely. Have you got anything else you want to add before we end the podcast today?
Not so much, but I do like the sound of that match. I mean, particularly if you're not going to book the idea. I mean, let's actually go one slightly different route. Say that it was wrong. Say Brock Lesnar does come back and we get Lashley versus Lesnar. I'd like Drew McIntyre versus John Cena. That'd be a match I'd really like to see. The face of now against the face of 10, 15 years ago would be amazing to watch as a dream match. The idea of some of the newer talent going over at this WrestleMania, I think that needs to happen. That's the most important thing of any match that's booked, whether it's old guard involved or not. We need to make sure new stars are built from this WrestleMania. That's the most important thing of everything.
100%. Before we end the video today, Steve, please tell everybody about the fun content you got coming up on your channel this week.
Thank you very much. SCW, the wrestling channel. Make sure to go and check it out. AEW Revolution predictions are on the way if you're looking forward to that show this Sunday. Some WWE videos as well popping up. NXT. In fact, there'll be an NXT video dropping on the channel tomorrow. And of course, there is actually a video that's dropped today talking about Bobby Lashley, potentially his road to WrestleMania, which of course we have discussed a little bit on this video already, but definitely still effectively all the way to SummerSlam.
Definitely. In terms of me and content this week, we've got a podcast coming on Thursday, me and WrestleManiac UK. We're going to be covering Fastlane 2015. The main event is Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan. How iconic. Yeah, that's going to be a fun review. Hopefully be back on Saturday with SmackDown. Currently at the moment on the road to 70 subs. Thank you for the recent subs and comments. It really, really helps. If you want to chat, I'm on Twitter at Chats Jonesy. And yeah, thank you for checking out the video. And please give us a thumbs up. Please leave a comment below if you've enjoyed it. Let us know what you've put for WrestleMania. And thank you for watching. Have a good evening.